human contact transmission or large droplets, but those droplets are large. You'd have to be in pretty close proximity. This is not something that is airborne or aerosolized.
The disease starts with fever, muscle aches, fatigue, and other flu-like symptoms.
It's important for us to really increase the awareness of monkeypox infection, especially now that we have the first case. And I don't think this will be the only case we will be having, especially among us. And stopping human-to-human transmission is the most important intervention at this point.
Monkeypox has reached the Philippines. That's what the Health Department reported today after detecting one case. What do we need to know about the disease and government's response? What do we need to know as well about the symptoms and management for this problem? We discuss in this episode of The Chiefs. Welcome to The Chiefs. Ako po si Roby Alampay. Kasama po natin online, Pamintuan of the Philippine Star and Luchi Cruz-Valdes of News 5. Chiefs, happy Friday.
Hi, good evening.
Happy weekend. As
So
Lingao
happy,
would say.
Pero parati tayong kwitaw lalo na habang dinalatag ni Ami ang front page, kailangan na ingat tayo. Ami, ano nga bang mga balitang binabantayan nyo?
Yun na nga rin yun. Nagtatanungan mga tao saan kaya galing. Yung kasi galing abroad, baka daw nakasabay sa aeroplano, pero hindi naman yung ibibigay sa atin. No details, personal details, di ba? Mag-iingat na lang tayo lahat.
And mamaya naman, we will be talking a bit about the situation on the monkeypox situation. Pero may bumulaga rin na balita, di ba? Yung nangyari sa anong latest doon, Ami?
Siyempre, yung speculation of whether it's fair or unfair, mukha daw nagkakaroon ng rido yata yun, hindi ba? Na retaliation, meaning meron na kagad isang suspect, pero sinasabi na nga ng Philippine National Police, wag muna daw tayo mag-speculate at baka lalong lumala yung sitwasyon.
And not speculating is actually one of the first messages of our guest tonight. We will try to get some updates on the murder case of Rolando Yumol. That's the father of the gunman in the Ateneo De Manila shooting. But here to talk some more, not just about that, but about the entire culture and all the speculations and everything that's happening around it. Basilan Representative Mujiv Hataman now joins us via Zoom. Thank you for joining us, Congressman Hataman.
Hey, good evening at magandang gabi po sa lahat. At sa ating mga taga-subaybay, magandang gabi po.
Congressman Hataman, let me start, as I said, not on the killing and the violence itself, but something that you said earlier today. Sabi nyo, look, whatever happens, let's not normalize.
And of course, kung babalikan ho natin ang social media, talagang ang daming mga negative comments. At ang tingin ko, yung mga komento ay hindi na rin nakakatulong sa sitwasyon. And yun nga, may nangyari kanina, lalong lumala yung mga speculations. Kaya nananawagan na rin tayo sa ating mga kababayan na huwag munang mag-speculate at the same time, at this point in time, kasi marami namang possibilities yung pangyayari kanina. Hindi yun dapat agad i-conclude at i-relate kung ano yung nangyari sa Ateneo.
And maybe you could expound some more, sir. I mean, from what you see and your own reflections, ano nga ba nangyayari pagka naggaganyan ng mga Pilipino? Pagka naggaganyan tayong lahat na not only speculating, di ba? Pero talagang nagbabangayan kahit mga walang kinalaman dun sa nangyari, kahit mga wala pang alam, people take it as reason na magbangayan. What do you see it doing to us as a society?
Well, alam mo, parang Hindi, ang reality talaga, parang kung i-conclude ng karamihan, talagang mayroong parang sinasabi agad, hindi, ano na yan, paghihiganti. Kasi yun yung na-develop na culture sa atin eh. Kung merong nangyari sa isang pamilya, gaganti sa isang pamilya. Pero ako, ang sinasabi ko nga ho, at this point in time, mahirap tingnan sa ganong anggulo. Ako, knowing na personally, kilala ko naman talaga yung mga pamilya na yon. Halimbawa, yung Purigay, kilala ko rin naman na hindi warlord at hindi mga humahawak ng armas. Likewise, yung kabilang pamilya, totoong pulis yung tatay, yung nasawi kanina, talagang dating pulis yun. Pero hindi rin ho na wala ho silang history na merong rido at wala ring history na mabuti pa nga kung pamilya ko, pwede kong sabihin na merong history talaga ng rido. Pero itong mga pamilya ng Purigay at itong pamilyang Yumol, wala pa ho akong kwento na narinig mula noon. Ako, masasabi ko dahil lumaki ho ako sa Basilan at halos kilala ko na yung mga pamilyang na involved sa mga bangayan at merong mga rido halos sa kabisado ko. Dahil
yun nga, Kong, yun ang gusto kong tanungin sa inyo eh. Ano po ba ang pulso and yung usap-usapan dyan sa mga nakakakilala kay Mayor Purigay at sa pamilya niya? At doon din sa mga nakakakilala kay Chao Tiao. Yan.
Yun na nga ho, ma'am eh. Sa totoo lang, sabi ko nga, ang pamilyang Purigay sa buong kwento nila dyan sa Basilan mula sa matandang Purigay, wala akong alam na meron silang karido. At hindi ho na-engage sa mga rido or awayan. Yung sinasabi mo, kung meron man, sabihin nyo dahil mga politiko sila, pero politika lang yun. Pero yung patayan, wala pa ho akong naririnig na sangkot ang pamilyang Purigay. Likewise, yung pamilyang Yumol, yung tatay, yun nga, dating pulis, pati itong si Chao Tiao ay sabihin natin naging doktor. At wala rin akong narinig na merong na-engage sa mga rido pagdating sa lamitan. Sa lamitan, ang sinasabi ko lang, sa lamitan, dahil yun yung siyempre kinalalakan ko. Pero itong pangyayaring ito, pero ilagay ko na lang ho sa tamang konteksto, ikwento ko ho.
Yes,
paano
please.
yung nangyari yung kwento na to. Una, itong si Doc Yumol, merong sariling clinic, di ba?
Yes.
May sariling clinic.
Yes.
Lahat naman ng clinic, kung nag-ooperate ka, merong regulation. At ang regulatory body dyan, kung sa national yung Department of Health. Pero since yung Lamitan City is under ng Bangsamoro Autonomous Region Muslim Mindanao, na-regulate sila ng Ministry of Health. One time parang nagkaroon ataho sila ng ocular inspection sometime in 2019. At parang nasita itong clinic ni Doc Yumol. Nung sinita, pansamantalang pinasara ng MOH, ni-recommend na ipasara dahil walang permit to operate. Pero sa loob ng isang buwan, parang hindi rin siya pinasara, parang sinabihan lang ho na kumuha ka ng permit. Pero sa loob ng buwang yon na binigay ng palugit ng Ministry of Health, parang hindi ho nakakuha ng permit at patuloy na nag-operate. So ang nangyari, sinulatan ng Ministry of Health ng BARM ang city government na ipasara. So sinara ng city government. Siyempre magiging accountable din ang city government sa regional government kung hindi niya ginawa yon. So nung in-enforce, parang ang galit ni Doc Yumol napunta sa local government units ng Lamitan City. So doon nagsimula ang bangayan sa Facebook. Nagsimula sa tao nila hanggang naging personalan, to the point nagkaso yung mga involved, kinasuhan ng pamilyang Purigay si Doc Yumol kasi nga sumobra na yung mga sinasabi sa Facebook at may ebidensya naman talaga, so nagkaroon ng libel case. So doon nagsimula yung bangayan hanggang hindi ko na lang alam ho, sa totoo lang, kung bakit humantong sa patayan yung pangyayari sa Ateneo.
Grabe kasing obsession niya no? Parang galit na galit at napakarami rin niyang supporters. Yun yung kamangha-mangha rin doon, ano?
Ma'am, yun nga ho yung nakakalungkot. Parang, ako in-observe ko at binantayan ko rin yung pangyayari sa social media, kung palala ng palala yung mga ganong komento, parang nadidevelop, parang tinotolerate natin yung culture of violence. Di ba? Parang sinasabi natin na okay lang pumatay kasi nabiktima yan, kasi pinasara. Pero ang point ko naman dito, kaya nga both kinukondena natin, dapat sa lipunan natin, sa isang civilized society, hindi natin kinokondon ang ganyang pamamaraan, maging may sala man sa'yo, dahil meron ng proseso sa ating batas na dapat na dinadaan natin yung galit natin sa sinuman na nakakabiktima sa atin. Halimbawa, yung pagpatay kay Mayor Rose, pati yung mga kasama niya, dapat kinukundina ng lipunan at ng ating pamahalaan. Ganon din yung pagpaslang sa tatay ni Doc Yumol, kung sino man ang may gawanan at this point in time, hindi pa pawalam natin, dahil pwedeng maraming gumawa niyan para lalong gumulo yung sitwasyon at maaari rin merong mga loyal na individual. So, ang daming possibilities. Kaya nga ang pakiusap na lang natin, lalong-lalo na kami na taga-Basilan at sa lahat ng mga taga-labas, wag nang makisawsaw muna sa usapan na yan at hayaan natin ang proseso ng hustisya ang mangibabaw dito sa usaping ito.
Congressman, speaking of the culture of violence, talagang inevitable siguro yung ganyang mga usapin kasi Basilan has long been associated with violence. Simula nung Abu Sayyaf, at talagang associated sa... Kumusta ba yung peace and order situation ngayon? Pati yung bombahan nun sa House of Representatives, that was a Basilan, that was a member of, that was a representative of Basilan, no? So, kumusta siya ngayon? Malaki na pong improvement o parang nakikita ngayon bumabalik yata yung culture na.
Dati-rati, kung balikan ko lang yung sinasabi nyong parang associated ang aming lalawigan sa violence. Noong 70s, siyempre ma'am, may MNLF, di ba? Noong 70s, magulo dahil merong MNLF, giyera between ng pamahalaan at ng mga Moro National Liberation Front. Noong 80s, 90s, ganun din giyera ng MILF at ng gobyerno hanggang humantong sa Abu Sayyaf, giyera ng Abu Sayyaf at ng gobyerno. Pero itong mga sitwasyon na to, talagang ang laki nung pinagbago kahit pang tanungin natin yung security sector. Halimbawa ma'am, in the early 90s, halos linggo-linggo merong kidnapping, merong bombing sa Basilan. Pero kung pansinin nyo ho, nagsimula ng mid ng 2010 pa-up 15, 16 hanggang ngayon, wala na hong incident ng kidnapping. Meron hong pangyayari halimbawa itong bago, yung incident ng bombing. Pero parang halos hindi na related doon sa terror acts, di ba? Tapos kung pansinin nyo naman usually yung violence in the past, it's between the state, pati yung rebel and terrorist group. Meron namang mga small violence, halimbawa kung merong redo dahil sa lupa, dahil sa politika. Pero itong nangyayari halimbawa, kaya nga kahit ako, nagtaka ako na humantong sa ganito. Itong halimbawa na insidente bago sa Ateneo at kahapon, kanina, na sa tatay naman ni Doc Yumol, dahil hindi naman engaged sa armed group itong pamilya na to Kumbaga hindi sila angkan ng warlord, hindi sila angkan ng mga political warlord. Kaya ako, tinitingnan ko lang din kung ano yung naging contribution ng social media dito sa pangyayaring ito. Kasi kung pansinin mo, lumala talaga sa pinalala ng social media ang sitwasyon. Halimbawa, nagamit yung platform ng Facebook para banatan yung mga pamilyang purigay, inakusahan na drug lord, na magnanakaw, pumapatay ng tao, bla bla bla. So, siyempre, dahil nasa gobyerno sila, ginamit nila yung proseso ng batas, nagkaso sila. Nagka-libel si Doc Yumol, hindi ko alam bakit humantong din nag-counter si Doc Yumol, pero humantong siya na dapat patayin niya yung nagkaso sa kanya. Pero ako, parang nakikita ko ang laki ng contribution ng social media dito sa pangyayaring ito. Dahil may mga ilan mas tinotolerate na natin, ay okay lang yan pumatay kasi biktima, kasi kinasuhan, kasi maliit lang siya at nasa gobyerno yung nagkaso. Pero di ba, maliit ka man o malaki, ang tingin ko naman yung process ng justice natin, dapat sinusunod pa rin natin. Dahil yun yung patakaran at yun yung institution na nais natin mangyari sa ating lipunan. Hindi yung paghawak ng armas at patayin mo na lang kung sino ang nagkaso sa'yo at kung napatayan ka rin, patayin mo na rin yung tatay ng pumatay sa'yo. Di ba parang ito yung mga, kumbaga, na culture na di-develop na kung ito ay influence ng social media, ang tingin ko, it's alarming na dapat ma-regulate natin even yung social media.
I mean, to your point nga, Congressman, no, that it's ironic that social media and yung toxicity sa social media, it tends to overwhelm, as you said, a lot of the good news that people are actually unaware of sa Basilan. And in a way, it's very counterproductive. So as a final question, let us put a little more focus on what you said. No? Sinabi nyo nga, actually, ang dami na nag-improve sa peace and order sa Basilan. What's behind that? To what would you attribute all of these things that you're saying na actually may nagbabago naman sa Basilan for the good?
Actually, ako hindi lang may nagbabago, talagang totally nagbago yung Basilan kung ikumpara mo nung early 90s, 80s, 70s, 2000 kumpara sa ngayon. Kasi halimbawa, pag sabihin mong Apo Sayyaf, ako pwede kong sabihin 99.9%. Wala na yung presence ng Abu Sayyaf. Kung meron siguro mga 2, 3 hanggang 10. Pag sinabi mong kidnapping, kailan last nagkaroon ng kidnapping sa Basilan? Sobrang tagal na. Siguro mga 2015, hindi pa yan, earlier pa. Hindi pa yan nangyari sa Basilan, nangyari sa ibang lugar at dinala lang sa Basilan. Pero, kaya ayokong i-relate kasi ako pwede kong sabihin itong pangyayari between Purigay and Yumil, isang isolated cases in the sense na kasi sabi ko nga hindi sila political warlord Never sa history na involved sila sa Rido. Kaya ang mas tinitingnan ko yung bangayan sa social media, lumala ng lumala at humantong sa ganito.
Okay. Congressman Mujiv Hataman, sir, maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Congressman.
Ay, maraming salamat po.
Thank you, sir.
And as we said earlier in the program, the health department has detected the country's first case of monkeypox. What should we know about this virus? Let's ask infectious disease expert Dr. Rontgene Solante. Dr. Solante, welcome back to the Chiefs.
Hi, Roby. Good evening.
Doc.
Good evening, Luchi and Annie.
Sir, we'll take the occasion now that, it is a milestone, the first case that we've detected of monkeypox here. But let's take advantage of that just to remind people of, what exactly is this virus? Gaano kaseryoso ba ito? Kailangan ba tayo magpanic?
Well, ganito yan, Roby, no? We have to take this into context na itong mga kaso ngayon sa mga non-endemic countries, no? I mean, hindi ito nag-spread out sa mga bansa na hindi known for animals infected and then the animal transmitting the infection to human, no? Kagaya ng West and Central Africa. Now, the cases in most of these non-endemic countries are usually came from a risk group. Ano ba itong risk group na to? These are the gay, the bisexual, and those with multiple contacts. And that's why we need to address that particular issue because we may be able to stigmatize and discriminate a certain point of this group of population. Now, let's face this. The current cases are sexually transmitted or transmitted via sexual contact or close intimate contact. And the lesions are not the typical monkeypox that we've seen in West and Central Africa. What do I mean by that? There are lesions na nakikita ngayon na they present with most of the cases present in the sexually or sexual health clinic, no, or mga HIV clinic, because the lesions are usually occurring sa anal area, sa genital area, and then sa mouth and the face. So these are things na we didn't expect na it will be like this, no? But it just so happened na ang mga kaso ngayon nag-umpisa sa mga ganitong klaseng paraan, sexual contact and intimate close contact with a large sexual network. That's why it has erupted into more cases in US and Europe.
Dok,
So what are you saying by that? Are you saying by that, Doc, na if you're not part of the risk group, as you call it, you're safe? Ganun ba yun?
No, there are risk group, but again, ang nakikita natin dito, we have to be careful that it can also affect non-risk group. Like, halimbawa, may mga cases na ngayon sa ibang bansa na walang na-trace na may sexual contact, but because of these people going home, there are household transmission. So there's a possibility that other non-risk group can also be infected.
Doc, linawin din lang namin, kasi sabi nila, it's not really as airborne as COVID, pero kung prolonged daw yung exposure, close physical contact, umuubo at nag-i-sneeze, pwede mo rin makuha. Pero it
Yes.
has to be prolonged, no? Hours daw.
Yes, it should be very close, within 3 feet, and it should be longer interaction because droplet you need longer interaction kasi hindi siya airborne, hindi siya aerosolized, no?
Yes.
Pero ang pinaka most common mode pa rin ng transmission, once you have the skin lesion and then you come in contact with that skin lesion and then you wipe your face, you touch your mouth, you touch your eyes, that's where you can get it, no? In fact, may mga na-document na rin yung mga kumot, mga damit na contaminated na sa skin lesions. If you get to touch that and you don't wash your hands, that can also be a mode of transmission.
Kailangan na lesion. Hindi porke may infection na dikit ka sa pawis, for example, hindi yun nakakahawak.
Hindi.
It has to be the lesion, ano?
Yes, the skin lesion should be there because the infectivity of a person starts when your skin lesion appear. Even to the point na yung skin lesion mo natutuyo na, you're still highly infectious.
Okay. Doc, let's talk about the virus. Let's talk about the virus itself.
Sorry.
So alam natin that it's not fatal. It's not very deadly. It's been there for quite a while. But the fact that it's spread to non-endemic countries, and there are now more and more countries reporting it, and the cases are now in the tens of thousands. What does that mean in terms of the chances or the ability of this virus to mutate and cause problems that we are not necessarily prepared for?
Okay, that's a very good question, no? Because mutation is always part of the life of a virus. But this is a DNA virus, and DNA virus, type of a virus that mutate rarely. No, hindi sila ganun kabilis mag-mutate. And if there will be mutations, these are mutations that will not much make them more virulent or more transmissible.
Okay, yung isa pang problema, Doc.
Yung sorry.
Yeah, yung isa
The
pang-
way it was discovered, no? Genome testing. Sorry, Ami. Hindi tayo magkaano. Okay, yung parang, etong worry ng marami, no? Isa lang ba yan talaga or yun pa lang ang nadidiscover considering that genome testing here in the Philippines nga is, well, they're few and far between. No? So is it, how sure are we na isa pa lang yan? Or can we make a projection based on that one case that was discovered today?
Luchi, this is just the first case, and I predict there will be more cases. Okay, there will be more cases. Why? We have a lot of tourists coming in. We have a lot of Filipinos traveling already and visiting other countries where monkeypox is already very high, no? So it's just a matter of time that marami ang maging kaso. Now, the important part here is really awareness among the doctors. Kasi pag may mga skin lesions yan, and then may history of travel, they have to coordinate with either RITM or the Philippine Genome Center and do the test. No? Napaka-importante niyan because otherwise, if we neglect itong may mga skin lesions and we don't much dwell on the history na may mga travel pala or meron palang history of multiple contacts, then we will miss it. And all we know, marami na palang nahawaan because of the nature of how the current cases are being transmitted.
Doctor, okay naman yung capability natin for testing kasi even in New York, sabi nila, kulang daw yung testing facilities and pangalawa, kulang yung vaccine, which is originally for smallpox, although pinayagan na sa monkeypox din. Kumusta yung ating mga gamot? Is it even here, yung T-pox ba yun? Nandito na ba sa Pilipinas? Saka yung testing natin, capability, kumusta?
So, first I have to comment for the testing capability. No? So, RITM is one, and the other one is the Philippine Genome Center. No? But I think we need to expand the testing capability, and the DOH should now look into training other laboratories, other hospitals, even to the extent private hospitals. No? Kasi alam natin ang mga ganitong pasyente, they go to a private clinic, they go to a sexual health clinic. Kasi nahihiya yan, pupunta sa mga government facilities, no? Important, we have to make the test very accessible para ma-encourage ang mga doctor. Now, with regards to treatment, the current treatment that you mentioned, itong mga antiviral agents, the data are still so limited kung very effective sila, no? So, but these are already available, and in countries na available to, they're using it now for their
Pero wala pa siya sa Pilipinas, ano?
Wala pa, Ami, wala pa. Now, I would like to comment on the vaccine. The vaccine, the problem with the vaccine, it's also limited, no? Because these are stockpiled vaccines before na for the smallpox, no? So I don't know if we can have access on that, but it's really the problem there is really the limited supply of this vaccine.
Dr. Solante, at the State of the Nation address of President Bongbong Marcos, sinabi niya kailangan magkaroon na rin tayo ng, in effect, our own CDC, di ba? And really raise our capacity to deal with these viruses and health crises that are rising all over the world. Now, we know, as you said, meron tayong Genome Center, meron tayong RITM, we have many units that are really specialized also for public health and for research. Do we have all the pieces in place for a CDC? Is it just a matter of creating a unit or a department and empowering them and giving them the mandate? Or meron pa ba tayong mga missing pieces? In other words, how close are we? How easy is that, or how hard is that for us to have our own counterpart for a CDC?
Okay, in terms of capability, we need to look at one. Do we have people that we can tap for that? Okay, do we have resources to maintain the function of that? Okay, and at the same time, do we have additional resources to sustain the function? No, nakikita ko dito, as long as Congress will kasi ang nakita ko dito, Congress yata ang nag-propose. So I mean, they're so serious about that it will be really set up. No, so I'm positive we have the manpower, we have the resources. It's just a matter of starting it, and at the same time, umpisa na kasi kailangan natin itong mga ganitong klaseng center, no? And hindi lang because kailangan natin. We have to look into the possibility of also developing our own way of developing diagnostic capability. No, we should not be dependent also with other countries. Look at South Korea, look at Indonesia, or even Malaysia. They really have good progress in terms of diagnostic capabilities because they put a lot of budget in terms of investment in terms of these mga emerging and re-emerging infections.
Okay, we will have to note that down as a topic one day. Dr. Solante, kailangan pag-usapan natin ng mahaba ito, how we get to that point, and we will have you there surely. For now, maraming salamat, Dr. Rontgene Solante.
Thank you and good night.
Thank you, Doc.
And we will start up another conversation after the break. You will want to be here. We're having EJ Obiena. Keep it right here on the Chiefs. Hear us?
Congratulations.
Okay. You're still watching the Chiefs on One News. Filipino pole vaulter and Olympian EJ Obiena has tallied a new career high number 3 in the world for men's pole vault. He joins us tonight. Congratulations and welcome to the Chiefs, EJ.
Good evening.
Galing.
Thank you po.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
EJ,
Thank you
where are
very
you
much
joining us from? You're still somewhere in Europe.
I'm in Berlin, actually, with my girlfriend.
Okay. Anyway, so let's get...
Sorbo kayo.
Oh. So once again, congratulations. But I want to get into this because let's just set the table here. Everybody knows everything you had to hurdle. We know you could soar, but everybody knows that you had to hurdle a lot of things. Now, politics, that's not necessarily a word that EJ is using. I'm using that word. You had to hurdle some politics. Let's say you had to hurdle some red tape, some misunderstandings, COVID, among other things. Siguro, let's start with that. How do you do that? Everybody was saying, ano ba, we're all distracting EJ. You're all distracting EJ from what he has to do. But how do you tell it to yourself? How did you get past and hurdle all of those distractions?
Good thing I was a hurdler before I was a pole vaulter.
Pareho lang ba yun? Psychological and physical hurdles?
I don't know, but kidding aside, I think I knew that I had to continue what I signed up for, like my job as an athlete. That's first, and then second is my team. I can't say it enough. They're the one who really supported me and made sure that I'm capable of still continuing and doing what I need to do. And I literally couldn't have done it without them. And I think that's the biggest factor, that I was able to focus still when these things, as you said, politics and red tape and all of that was happening. I can still somehow manage, in whichever way possible, to focus on my task.
Well, what kind of psychologizing, or I don't know, maybe you can fill us in on the details of this, because I do know after Heidelin Diaz's win also, I remember that there was a psychologist as part of the team. And I'm sure yours too includes psychologists. What goes into, kasi I remember reading that on your way to this league, you were also anong tawag dito, disrupted at the, I don't know, was it LAX International Airport?
Unfortunately.
You were held in immigration, hindi ba, for a couple of hours. Because they were questioning your claim as an athlete, no, and yet you went on to win the bronze. So, what kind of psychologizing goes into something like that, no? Na disturb ka ng gusto, na let's just say na insul ka pa, and yet you just went on and you went for it.
Yeah, my psychologist specializes in sports psychologist, but she's also like a medical psychologist. So she actually graduated in UP and got her master's in Johns Hopkins, and she resides right now in San Francisco. Her name is Cheryl Katsuga, and she worked with me since 2019. She basically helped me a lot. I can't tell all the secrets, of course, but she helps me a lot on being able to be human outside of being an athlete, because when my life outside of athletics is good, it applies and it follows, not just follows, it's kind of surround my life as an athlete. So I think that's one of the things that she's very good at. So we try to get my mind settled and be able to make peace with my demons and all of that. And there's, of course, tricks and tips and here and there, to how to compartmentalize from time to time, but at the same time, tackle that when I can. So, yeah, it's just really a lot of different approach. And I think that's the biggest thing that she's able to provide me and help me with. So I can't say exactly, there's like secrets of the trade as well that I don't want to let people know, and how I kind of how's my mindset going into competitions, But yeah, we do have those, and we try to plan and program my approach in the perspective of things. So it's not like hopefully I'm not a psycho, but you know what I mean. We do try to work around on the systems that we currently have.
EJ, tell us about your training for this competition. Or did you get enough funding? Did you get enough support? And what will you do differently for your next competition?
Training wise, it didn't went as smooth as possible. I got COVID and I missed 2 of the major build-up competition that dapat kasama po ako and parte po ng programa namin. Ang problema po, nagka-COVID, and ang mandate sa Italy is 7 days minimum quarantine. So I was sa bahay lang ako, then paikot-ikot ako. Walang biro, paikot-ikot ako sa kwarto tumatakbo. Then try to stay fit and do as much as I can during that time. When I felt that I'm healthy enough to do it. Funding wise, and I would say we're still working on it. I haven't received anything from unfortunately to the government or to my NSA since January, but of course there are good Samaritans that mend the bridge and made it possible for me to do what I did and to be able to achieve what I have achieved. So that's why I keep saying my team really does help me and really made this possible for me.
Well, that makes your donation to Liga de Vega's cause even more admirable, no? Considering that you have not received any funding and you decided to donate your prize money, no, to the cause of Liga de Vega. I mean, actually, I have to really praise you for that. That's very admirable. But what moved you to do that?
She needs it more than me. If my training stops, my training stops. And it's life and death, and this is health. She really does need it more than me. And, I'm not going to be here where I'm at. I'm not going to be who I am without Liga de Vega being, one of the leaders in spear, headed the track and field, put the sport in the Filipino minds and the map. And I'm not going to be EJ Obiena without Liga. So at that time, it's just quite an easy task to think, because also I didn't really expect any prize money at that. And I didn't think, okay, I want to jump the new Asian record to get this money. I didn't had that. When I read that, I was like, oh, so there's going to be money coming in. But then I already knew what's happening to Ma'am Lydia way back before the competition started, and I was already thinking about it. So I called up my mentor, and yeah, he agreed, and luckily he's down to put the same amount that I'm able to. So yeah, then again, really, she needs it more than me.
Very well said. And, one of the things that you do share with Lydia De Vega as well is championing the cause of the Filipino athlete. She herself, as you could imagine, from decades back, didn't necessarily have all the resource support, didn't necessarily have all the systems around her. But going back to that, if I got that correctly, as you said, you haven't necessarily received any funding from government since January, if I heard that right. But is that to say that everything that played out in public, that came to light in public, not to revisit everything that happened, but everything that came to light, the fact that you had to handle your own logistics, you were essentially your own human resource department, you had to handle all of that. Is that to say that, notwithstanding all of your triumphs, that those things have not yet been resolved at this point?
On the personal side of things, I don't know if it's a structural wise with the PSC, with the government side, or my NSA, if those are already addressed, I'm not sure. But on my side of things, my team keeps growing. And right now I have my own group of people, like accountants as well, that helps me out. I have my lawyers to make sure that everything that's being asked of me is legal. And then I have my coach, my physio, my psychologist, and, basically me as the guy who organized my travel. But that's one thing that I learned from all that fiasco was I need help, and I need to get that help one way or another. And good thing is really there's a lot of good Samaritans out there that were willing to help me out of their own time, take their own, free time of their own to actually devote that in helping me out.
And you didn't used to be like that? Were you the type of person who used to take on everything yourself, and you weren't necessarily the kind of person who would actively ask for help?
Yeah, because I tend to overthink things, so I like to do things by myself, and I like it done the way I like it done. But one thing that I learned is I have such an amount of time that I need to devote on the things that I need to do that are detrimental, that I actually need to do. And there are other things that actually other people are better fit, and they actually know it more than me. So I learned to do that on, in all of these occasions.
Well, you're on a break right now. What will be next for EJ Obiena? Are you setting your sights on the Olympics, and how are you preparing for that?
I'm actually today is already the second day of training. I had maybe a day of rest because I'm competing in a week's time again with these guys. So right now, my sights are basically the competition coming next year, because that's very important for the Olympics, and that's the build up. And it's a big year ahead. And right now, my short, the near goals are the next competitions, and I have at least a couple more, at least 5 competitions that I need to do. So right now I'm just doing my thing and following the program of my coach, and he, I believe, would need to program next year a little bit more, because there's a lot of championships that are going to happen. We have the Asian Indoor World Indoor Championship, if I'm correct, and then we're going to have the Asian Games, Southeast Asian Games, and then the World Championship yet again. So it's a lot of championship that normally we don't get in 1 year. So I'm not quite sure how my coach would plan that yet. So, but he's already working on it.
Yeah, well, our country has a new administration. Are you hoping for any change by way of sports development?
I think what I can ask for the new administration is really hopefully that, if not to maintain the support that we are getting, hopefully it gets a little bit better. And I think one of the things that, at least the good side of my problem that arises, it showed, that there's a structural problem in the things that are happening for us national athletes in the Philippines. So hopefully that will be addressed. And I think that's why, the Senate are working on hopefully new laws and new legislation to hopefully assist, our national athletes.
Aside from funds, what do you think is the biggest problem that faces sports in the Philippines?
I think, at least for my sport, it's the availability of it. It's tough to find talents when it's not even possible to do it. You know what I mean? It's easy to find basketball players everywhere in the Philippines because we have courts in every single city. In pole vault, it's not that way. And I think in my sport, at least, where I can actually, I'll say, honestly know at least what I'm saying is that it's not accessible enough to each and every one. And hopefully that's one thing that we'll be able to do. And hopefully, there's going to be more pole vaulters coming in the next generation.
Yeah, but to that point, is it to the point of the accessibility of the sport itself? Because we have no idea, for example, on the cost, not just on the individual, but let's say even a barangay or even a school who wants to put it up. Is it deceptively expensive? Is it actually cheap? Do you just dig a hole in the ground? Do you just dig a hole in the ground and get a pole? I mean, what's the minimum requirement, let's say, for a barangay or a school to say, yeah, let's try this out. The kids might enjoy this.
Well, I think the first thing is knowledge. I guess we need to get coaches that know pole vaulting that can actually teach it. Pole vaulting is a lot of different complexity, but then it comes down to the very basic. You can do it with the literal bamboo and sand pit. That's the crudest of crude. We even, I'm very proud of my school, UST, because we recruited one kid that basically went viral. And like this foreign pole vaulter started sending us these guys video, and he was basically jumping on his backyard. His dad kusot, pinagpatong-patong na sako ng kusot, then he's vaulting. And the next thing you know, he already graduated this year in a degree in UST. And these are the inspiring stories. So if you ask me if it's expensive to actually start it, most probably not. It's definitely doable, but the knowledge to be able to do that, I think, is more important than just the equipment. So accessibility doesn't necessarily mean facilities.
Yeah, but
Well, how did you
to that
even
one
become
point, sorry.
Paano ka ba nag-uumpisa?
Yes. It's not that popular. And mas popular pa yung weightlifting.
Diba? At saka one specific thing that you said, diba? Coaches. I mean, just somebody to teach you. Ilan ba kayo?
Well, I'm lucky na pinanganak po sa pamilya ng Obiena where my dad was also a pole vaulter himself. So,
naman pala, runs in the family.
Madali po sa akin, it's straightforward,
Yes.
Tambay lang ako dun sa oval nung nagte-training yung tatay ko. So, I get to do it. It's a little bit of fun things to do. With the coaches po, I think it's still very limited, but it's definitely more than before.
Sige, how did your father na lang get interested in pole vaulting?
Oh, I have no idea. I just know that his brother actually started to do it earlier than him.
Okay.
And then he wanted to do it as part of the decathlon, which is the 10 event in track and field, but it's part of it. So he wanted to do that, and for some reason he excelled into it. And then, the challenge of it, I guess, really did tinker his mind. And yeah, the next thing you know, he's still coaching. He produced now the next homegrown 5-meter jumper who won at silver in Southeast Asian Games, by the way, just recently.
From the looks of it, it really looks to me like a very complicated, even dangerous sport, no? I mean, you have to know how to run. You have to know how to, mount on that pole, and then, oh my gosh, the falling, no? I mean, it's not your simple hurdle. It's your whole body trying to get over that whatever you call it, that bar.
Yeah, but
Where do you get the skills for that? Yeah.
I think a lot of people have that perspective that it's dangerous, it's complicated, because you guys think about the height that we're already jumping.
Oh.
You know, it took very, very, very long time for us to be able to do that. So, medyo matagal-tagal din pong pinag-ensayuhan. So, you know, the skill that we attain is already at that elite level. You know, when you start, it's not gonna be you're not gonna be jumping 5, 4, 3 meters, maybe 2 meters. You know, like parang yung feeling lang. Yeah, 6 feet, but you know, it's not as complicated. But yeah, I mean, you learn this through, you know, coaching. Proper coaching would make the sport, I would say, honestly, less dangerous. Of course, you know, with the proper coaching, it's less dangerous. You don't do these unnecessary accidents. You know, it is not. You know, I myself was not lucky enough to be, you know, injury free in my career. But of course, you know, with my dad being my coach and then having this now the world class and probably arguably the best pole vault coach to have ever lived to be training me, we avoid those things. I wouldn't say it's that complicated. It's just a mix of a lot of little things doing it properly. You know, so running, you need to be a little bit faster. Then you need to learn gymnastics, which, you know, Carlos Yulo is very amazing at. Yeah. And then you learn a little bit of strength to be able to do all of this connection of movements. So, well, talking about it now, yeah, maybe a little bit complex. You're right, but I'm
glad you mentioned Kaloy Yulo, no, because for all the love affair that we have for basketball. And football is having its moment now, thanks to the Filipinas as well. But really, I mean, the people who have suddenly put the Philippines on the world map for sports right now are all in individual sports. I know you have a team around you, and you always defer to your team. But you have Kaloy Yulo in gymnastics, Heidelin Diaz in weightlifting, you in pole vaulting, non-traditional sports for all of us, to say the least. But what's behind that, would you say? I mean, is it because people will say, prodigy, di ba? Parang genius lang yan si Kaloy Yulo eh. Genius yang si EJ eh, di ba? But beyond the individual, if genius is there or even the discipline, what else is there in this moment in Philippine sports that's allowing these individuals in individual sports to finally really be at that global level?
Straight up answer, I don't really know. I have no idea why you know, Philippine sport is at this I would say a new golden age. But then, you know, I met Kaloy when we were very young. I think I was 13 and he was maybe 10. Tatlo sila nun maliliit sa gymnastics. I don't know, for some reason we ended up crossing path again. He was a world champion and I'm a university games champion. So I don't really know. I guess we're breeding a new and next generation better and even smarter national athletes, and I think that's something that hopefully, you know, the government and the system that we have capitalizes to inspire the next generation to hopefully inspire more and smarter and better next generation Filipino athletes. You know, it would be awesome to see the next pole vaulters break all these records that I hold. It's going to be bittersweet, but then at the same time, it's, you know, it's a sign that the sport is growing. So
yeah, but we hope.
I don't really know what.
Yeah, I mean, we certainly hope, as you said, that it's a golden age. But if even you can't put your finger on it, on why are we having this moment, and therefore we can't bottle whatever it is that the whole country is doing right, then there's a risk that this golden moment is just a golden fluke, di ba? Nagkataon lang na, you know, magkakababata to, nagkasabay-sabay pinanganak tong sila EJ, sila Kaloy, sila Heidelin, di ba? But what do you think is hopefully we can bottle and sustain from this moment?
my approach into this is not probably the most scientific one, but as I said, you try to inspire a group of people, then there's going to be more chance of you getting more Kaloy Yulo, more Hidelin Diaz, and more Yumir Marshal of the next generation. And I think that's what happened to us as well. In a way, I was inspired because we had Lidia de Vega, this Mr. Del Prado, and all of these greats in track and field that inspired you. Even Henry Degmel, where he fortunately I was able to meet him. He's our long jump Olympian. And these are the things that I think did inspire me to start. You'll never know all these young kids that you have, if they're going to be the next Kaloy or Hidelin. But the more that you have, the more chances that you're actually going to get. So that's going to be my approach. If, as you said, we can't point the finger on how. I don't think there's this exact path to be able to say, yeah, this is the way to make an Olympian, or this is the way for sports greatness. I don't think there's a straight outlet or outline to do that. But the more head that you have in the sport, the more chances that you're going to get better and more talents in. And then the more chances that we're going to get in Olympics, World Championship, or Southeast Asian Games as well.
How would you invite the next generation to try pole vaulting? Would you tell them, don't be afraid of the height?
I'm afraid of that. I don't want to be jumping down the diving board 5 meters. That's scary. But when you're vaulting, it's different. I'm almost 6 meters high up in the air, and I enjoy that free fall, as Ma'am Valdez was saying. I'm not sure, but for me, I would really want, hopefully one day when I have time, to be able to go to the cities, go to the provinces, and hopefully, hold a clinic, be able to at least impart the knowledge that I know. So hopefully that would inspire a bunch of Filipino and, make it accessible to every corner of the Philippines. That's hopefully the future of pole vaulting.
You already have inspired many of them, I'm sure, EJ.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. EJ Obiena, maraming salamat.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
And
po.
congrats
Thank you so
again.
Congratulations. Mabuhay.
Thank you very
And
much.
God bless you on the next tournament.
Thank you.
That's it for the Chiefs this week. We hope what was discussed will keep the conversation going. Ako po si Roby Alampay.
I'm Mami Pamintuan of the Philippine Star.
I'm Luchi Cruz-Valdes of News 5.
We are One News, all sides, all the time.